widdz here, and in today's video I'm gonna show you the best PvE build when it comes to Division 2 in 2024. I actually haven't made a build about this video in I can't remember how long, but super long time ago, so I thought it was about time now when this update is gonna be going for quite some time, and I also know that there are returning players coming to the game. If you also are a new player, I would suggest to check the build video on the screen right now after this, because that is also extremely good build to farm with. But I think this one overall just works for everything and is super good. On top of that, I will also show a PvP version of this build. So yeah, the build I'm talking about, if you haven't figured it out, is the Striker Battlegear gear set. So this one brings us all the way back to Division 1 glory days, and you know how much I played the Striker back then in PvP and even in PvE. So in case you're not familiar with how it works, so the 2-piece gives you 15% weapon handling, which is accuracy, stability, weapon swap speed and reload speed. So pretty good to get that there, especially the reload speed. Then we have the 3-piece, which is 15% rate of fire. Basically, you shoot the gun faster, right? So you will get the stacks, which are gonna come to soon faster, and just faster burst DPS, right? Which is called Striker's Gamble, right? So weapon hits increase total weapon damage by 0.65%, stacking up to 100 times. They did make a rework on this set though, so you never lose any stacks when you miss. So as long as you hit your target, you will only lose stacks per second, right? So one will be lost between 0 and 50 and 2 stacks between 50 and 100. So extremely easy to keep the stacks up when you get them. And you combine this with the chest piece, which increased the stacks to 200, right? You do lose 3 stacks though, between 100 and 200, but still really easy to keep up as long as there's stuff to shoot at. We also do have the backpack talent, which is risk management, and that will increase the stack from 0.65% to 1%. So if we have max stacks being 200, we will get 200% weapon damage, which is just insane. And this is one of the few gear sets where it's definitely, in my opinion, mandatory to use at least the backpack, but even the chest piece. Even though there is another option that you can use, which we will get to later though. So before we check out the build, I just want to quickly go through the stat priority when it comes to the gear and even weapon. So I think on weapons, it's pretty straightforward. As a third attribute, you want to have out of cover damage. If you can't get that, then get damage to armor. When we look at the actual gear pieces, we want to prioritize crit. So ideally, we want to try to get 60% crit chance and then put the rest into crit hit damage. Depending if you run Coyotes, you could go a bit lower on the crit chance, since you will get 10% crit hit chance from the 15 to 25 meters, or the 25 meter plus giving you 25 crit hit chance, right? So you could maybe stay around 50% if you like to go with Coyotes. Keep in mind, it won't be up then if you solo and you hit something at 0 to 15 meters. So basically, weapon damage as a core attribute, and then you just go crit hit chance, crit hit damage, and the crit hit chance and crit hit damage mods. You go into the stat menu, right? You press G, and you can look at your crit hit chance, and you can see I have 60% right now. If you want to check what you actually have, because when you're above 60, it doesn't show more, you can de-equip some crit hit chance and just make sure that you are around 60 or 50%, depending on what you want to do with the Coyotes. There's a few different ways you can build this. So this is usually the way I like to play it. So 4-piece Striker with Coyotes mask, which is extremely good for crit and also for your teammates. So you get critical hit damage and crit hit damage and crit hit chance, or just crit hit chance, right? Depending on the range. This works in group, right? So if you play Countdown, for example, you might not even need to use Coyotes because everybody have it. But yeah, it's really good for yourself and also for your teammates, right? But you can definitely play something else than that, and we will get into that soon. And then I like to use Picaro because you get armor and you also get weapon damage. So 2 core attributes on one item instead of 1, right? Which is extremely good. Another way to play it is to play Striker Holster, and then you swap and you play Fox Prayer knee pads for the damage to target out of cover. And in that case, I would swap out Picaro for Fox Prayers, right? And just put a Striker Holster there. And that's usually what I kind of like to play, especially in Countdown. When it comes to red and blues, I like to go full red, but you can definitely like play 4 blues, for example, especially if you combine it with Picaro, right? So you would swap 3 items here to blue, right? Still will get a lot of damage. In case you feel like you're not really having that high stack amount, you can swap out the Striker chest and you can go Obliterate, which is way faster to stack up, right? And that will give you 25% weapon damage for 10 seconds by just critting. And since this build is crit focused, we will crit like 60% of the time ideally, right? So that's really easy to build up. So when it comes to weapons for this build, there is quite a few options, especially since Striker is so strong. So I'm gonna go through the ones that I think are the best and are my favorites. So for building stacks, you wanna try to get Rock and Roll, which is a named ACS, also known as Showstopper, for the oldies here. And the good thing with this one is that it gives 50% magazine capacity, which means we have a bigger mag on this gun. I'm not sure if it's still bugged and it will give you 21 when you swap it. And it looks like they did not fix it. So you see 31 bullets, you swap gun, swap back, and it's 21. So they haven't fixed that yet. No surprises. And then you can pair that with an AR. One that's really good for PvE is the St. Elmo's engine, which have really good mods, right? As you can see right here. Top of that, it's a M4. And he got a really good talent as well for the shock ammo. Extremely good gun. Can get that one in countdown. Pretty easy way to farm it. Just put your target loot to assault rifles and just farm away. And you should get it pretty quick. Other than that, we also have the Eagle Bearer, which is pretty fun gun to use. Got way more recoil. The St. Elmo doesn't have much recoil though. But it also got this amazing talent here. So you basically get headshot kills and you hit headshots and then you will get the damage reduced. And if you manage to kill 3 NPCs, you won't take that damage. I'm not gonna go into depth, but it makes you tankier. This one is raid exclusive for the first raid, but you can also find it in Dark Zone. Super slim chance, but that's a pretty good gun to use. Ouroboros though, extremely good with this as well because of the super fast rate of fire. If you're playing Ouroboros, you don't need to use the Showstopper to build stacks. You can just play this one solo and then equip another gun, right? And you can pair Ouroboros with a shield splinter. And then in terms of secondary gun, I would recommend running Orbit. And that comes with perfect finisher. Or if you don't have Orbit, you can just use finisher. In case you want to kill an NPC or a skill, you get critical hit chance and crit damage for 15 seconds when you swap back to your main gun. Super nice. But I think that covers the guns, but you can kind of play whatever you want. As long as you have the Showstopper to build stacks, when you fully stack, you can just swap to whatever you want, and most of it will work really good. Of course, full auto guns will work the best. In terms of skills, I always like to run Revive Hive when it comes to PvE. So definitely recommend that. Other than that, the shield is pretty damn good, especially if you're playing a few more blues. And you could play Technician as well for additional skill tier, right? If you don't like to run the shield, guess you can run like maybe Decoy. Or you could run a Defender drone. I mean, the possibilities are up for you there. Even Pulse, whatever you like to run. PvE-wise, when it comes to specialization, you can really play whatever you want. Technician, if you want to get like an extra skill tier to maybe get a stronger shield. This one. Maybe you want to do an Artificer Hive and use that for the shield. Probably wouldn't recommend that. You can go Gunner to get like faster reloads every 3 reloads, right? With armor on kill here as well. Like the options are really up to you. So yeah, that's how I would run the PvE build. When it comes to the PvP version, it's kind of the totally opposite from the PvE one in terms of stats priority on the actual course. So PvE wise, I like to try to max out the red course, right? Just go full damage. When it comes to PvP, we are actually maxing out the blue stat, right? So we are going 6 blue. And the reason is that Striker takes some time to build stacks. So the tankier we are, the more time we have to get those stacks. And when we have those stacks, we are pretty tanky because of the blues, but we also have a lot of damage because of the stacks. So this is one of the versions. I will go through a bit how you can do this. But I do think backpack is mandatory because of the damage per stack, right? Chest piece, I mean, it's really good, but it will take even longer to build the stacks, right? So yeah, that's why I like to run the chest piece, and that's also because the chest piece has some really good PvP talents. The mask that I think you definitely should be using is Kafaris, which have really good talent, right? You can see stats-wise, incoming repairs, not really that good. Armor regen, kind of meh. It's not horrible though, but it's not that good. But the talent it have is insanely good. So basically you take damage, and you can get stacks up to 30, right? So each stack will give you 1% weapon damage. So when you add 30 stacks, or 29 I guess, you get 29% weapon damage. When you hit 30 stacks, then it triggers a purge. So it removes all status effects, which is insanely good by itself. That have saved me a lot of times. But on top of that, it also drops a healing cloud, which restores 5% of max armor for 10 seconds to everybody that goes into it. So, I mean, this one in PvP is just so freaking good. So I would definitely run this, especially when you have some blues. Because you get damage, and then you get a perch, and then you get a heal. I mean, what more can you ask for? So insanely good when you combine it with a high blue build, right? The chest piece, though, I have perfect efficient here. And especially in combination with the specialization firewall, and you can abuse that armor kit. So it gives you a 75% chance to not consume the armor kit, right? Which means you can just spam it. And yes, the normal one is 50% and this one is 75%. But those extra 25%, they do a lot. Like, I'm not kidding. I had times where I got 10 armor kits from having one in conflict. And it's just absurd. So depending on your RNG, like, you can get so much out of this. And I think with how PvP is these days, being able to do that, even though it's kind of cheesy. Other than that, when I was playing this with Ouroboros, I was using a Sokolov chest piece with Unbreakable. So if you don't like perfectly efficient, then you can run Unbreakable. And if you for some reason don't like survivability, I guess you could run Obliterate for that extra damage. But personally, I would go for Unbreakable or Efficient. But yeah, other guns you can run. We went through Ouroboros earlier. And of course run Eagle Bearer as well. As long as you can get the first kill, this should be really strong. And then you run it with the Showstopper, right? Rock and Roll out to build stacks, and then swap the Eagle, right? Elmo you can run as well, but I honestly don't see a reason to do that in PvP unless you want to cheese the shock ammo. And yeah, fuck that shit. You can have Ouroboros and Shield Splinter, which is the combination I have right there. But yeah, stat priority, armor everywhere, crit chance and crit damage hitting 60%. And keep in mind, if you are playing conflict, you don't get the SHD watch, right? So then you need to actually have 60% excluding the watch. I have 58% right now. Like, if I want to have this maxed in conflict, then I should have more crit chance. But I also don't have a mod. I just equipped the efficient thing here. So I haven't even equipped a mod there. So that's what I would do for PvP. If you want to focus on more damage, you could do Sokolov for SMG or Fenris for AR, right? Other than that, I don't think there's too much to talk about here. We still have Orbit here for the perfect finisher. It's great to have in PvP. You can use that to kill skills. In terms of specialization, we go Firewall mainly just for the armor kit here. That gives you 200% armor and 200% health over 10 seconds. So we can spam it with Efficient. In terms of skills for PvP, when it comes to Dark Zone, I would run Decoy and Defender Drone and Pulse. So that's 3 skills, right? And that's the hard part. All of them will be really good. So the question is, which one do you want to drop out? And I think that's just personal preference. Covers the best striker builds, in my opinion, for 2024 in Division 2. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And let me know in the comment section below how you like to run your striker. And I will see you guys in the next YouTube video or at twitch.tv/widdz.